Hello and welcome to the Matrix Fitness podcast. My name's Matt Gleed, and joining me today, we are going to be talking to a guest about digital solutions and applications. So first of all, I would like to introduce you to Rob. Rob, if you'd like to take away the stage and talk a little bit more about yourself and your business, really.
Hi there, my name is Rob Lander. I'm one of the co-founders of Fisikal. Fisikal is a business management and online education software for the health and fitness industry. We've created a collection of functionality-rich modules such as bookings, payments on demand, live streaming, etc., that can be integrated into an operator's own business infrastructure and is delivered to staff and customers through a series of white-labeled mobile applications and web applications as well.
That's quite an introduction, Bob. So there's a lot going on for obviously a very busy sector at the moment. Maybe you can sort of set the scene for us a little bit more about the way that fitness industry is using apps, and maybe talking about the different sides of the industry, from maybe consumers and operators and companies like Matrix as a supplier as well. So what is the need out there at the moment?
Perfect. So obviously, we're in a unique position. So we create products and solutions for companies like Matrix with a couple of their applications, the MX4 and the Connects Us at Home application as well, but also for operators in the space to be able to deliver booking solutions to their members, deliver live streaming, be able to connect with their members and streamline a whole different host of different solutions that they need they have their different challenges. And so we've got a whole host of different solutions there as well. And also for education organizations as well, to be able to deliver student education. So there's the three different core parts to what we do: one for brands, for Matrix, one for operators, and one for the education operators. So we're able to sort of sit on the fence and be able to watch and observe how each of these different sectors are moving, especially during this time of COVID. What we're able to see is that if we start with the operators, they've got a number of challenges that they've been experiencing. Obviously, the clubs have been closed. Now they are reopening, so they very quickly needed to adapt to having an efficient gym access booking solution. But also with that, they needed to be able to streamline the process and make sure that customers were only coming in the specific time slots they should, were informed on the social distancing regulations and rules that they needed to adhere to in order to be able to be safely exercising in a gym environment. But also they needed to be able to make sure that customers weren't coming in too frequently, so everybody else had an opportunity to be able to come. So we very quickly adapted the solution for all of the above. We already had a booking solution that was easily adaptable into becoming a gym booking solution. So that was very easy for us. And actually, by chance, we'd actually created a solution prior to lockdown or even COVID really coming around for restrict to book with advance. How many appointments can somebody make for this specific category of service on a particular day? So we're able to very easily, once clubs started to reopen, enable operators to configure and set the rules in place so that they can say, well, listen, we're allowing people in to do one gym access and one class booking a day, and be able to create those different boundaries there, which was really, really efficient and useful. And we're finding lots of members are coming back into the clubs and are booking through those processes. Obviously, with making it fair for all members to be able to have their fair chance of coming in, we do have the ability to be able to penalize members that are taking the mickey a little bit by making bookings and then not showing up. So operators are able, if they want to be able to turn the strike logic on, so that if somebody fails to show up for a specific category of booking, let's say gym access in this example, 3 times within 2 weeks, then it's easy to be able to turn them, remove their booking access for a particular period, 7 days, or they have a fine or whatever it might be. Just so it makes it very clear that if you are making a booking, obviously clubs have limited capacity now, and it should be fair that people need to be able to come in and make their bookings as they need to. So there's some of the challenges, and now the world's sort of gone virtual. We found that during COVID, a lot of operators were very scared. They lost control of their staff. In some cases, staff were just going out there and delivering PT sessions to their customers. Customers stopped paying all of the revenue that they were for their monthly license fees because they couldn't access any of the physical facilities. And clubs are very worried that their members were just engaging directly with their staff, and what would happen when clubs reopen. There's this cycle of, things happen over a 3-month period, becomes a habit and becomes a new behavior that we all get used to. And actually, it's not so bad to do an online training session. Well, members start to question, do I really need to go back into that health club environment? So we very quickly worked with the operators to create an environment so that they could still have that branded experience for their customers through to engaging with their instructors through the online digital training programs that they could provide. And that was done through both Zoom calls, whether or not the booking was made. We created a solution with an integration into Zoom so that the meeting URL was automatically distributed through. So a lot of clubs had a huge amount of challenges whereby members were having to receive multiple WhatsApp messages on this meeting at this time, etc. So we streamlined that whole process so that the members go to add themselves into a booking. They receive their appointment notification, they tap join session, and it launches them to the specific meeting. Saves a whole host of administrative challenges, and also making sure only members that should be on that online training session are on that training session. So that was a really good challenge that we were able to come up with a streamlined solution for. And a lot of operators are using that now around the world purely through our application. It makes it a really good end-to-end experience because the member is kept within their branded experience to go and make their online booking for that, whether it's an individual directly with a trainer or they're joining a small group training session, so they can have that community feel through that Zoom session that's being run by the instructor. And then obviously the other part for that, the challenge was everybody started to dump free content on Facebook Live and Instagram, etc. And that was wonderful for the fitness industry. Yes, the fitness industry suddenly went digital overnight. So that whole process of, for years, people saying, well, no, we just offer an online and an in-club solution. Now, I think the new normal is that everybody will need the in-club and the online. And a lot of operators are looking very particularly at, well, could we potentially have a standalone product which is purely online? And I think that's a really smart way to look at that. And obviously, the physical infrastructure has a great experience within that sector to be able to have the in-club and the online, because it's part of how we initially started our journey. Just on that, our journey started, I was a personal trainer. I qualified when I was 17, and I was very fortunate to be able to build up a portfolio of clients around sort of the Kensington, Chelsea, Central London area. And I maxed at 50 training sessions a week. And the challenge that one's presented with when you're working and delivering that takes about 70 hours to deliver sort of 50 training sessions, because it was in multiple gyms around London and people's houses, and constantly trying to eat food and run to a session and be presentable and deliver a session, was making sure I could manage all the financial administration. So clients paying me up front, making sure I could count how many sessions left they had. When clients were traveling, and I trained race car drivers for 15 years for Le Mans 24 hours. And a lot of the times I couldn't travel to Australia or America with the racing teams as they were going on for the race weekends. So because I had my other portfolio of clients that I needed to take care of as well. So I wanted to create a solution that I would be able to create a digital training program and support people remotely from wherever they were, effectively, so that I didn't have to rely on selling my time by the hour, and I could find a way that effectively I could earn money while I slept as an individual professional. And that's effectively why we created Fisikal. So the name Fisikal is fiscal iCal. So money and calendar were the two key things that I needed to manage. And the third attribute on that was to be able to deliver digital training programs. So this whole move to digital training programs is something that we've been doing for the past decade and more. So we've got a lot of experience there and helping operators with that. And the operators that are delivering their digital training programs through our platform, we're able to see granularly each client, what sessions they've gone into, what they've looked at within a workout, whether they've skipped a particular number of exercises in a particular sequence, so that we can go back to the operators and they can see everything very clearly on a dashboard, so that they can see, well, here are our most popular started workouts. but here are the most popular completed workouts. And these two don't necessarily correspond to the same started and ended workouts. You might see some trends where people are bailing out of certain workouts that they've started at different points. So making that data really highly useful for the operators so that they can see, well, actually, we need to create more of these training programs because these are the ones that our members are engaging with the most. So that's hopefully a little bit of background on what we do and how we do it, and sort of some of the challenges that we've had in there as well.
Yeah, well, Robin, I mean, it's such great detail as well, because, I mean, it's very clear that, you know, you talked about your own personal journey from a personal trainer, so you understand how the fitness professional feels within this whole kind of digital world, but you're actually building it for, you know, the clients as a facing app, but at the same time, you're understanding the commercial need from doing this as well. So it's this really nice way to look at your approach, because you are looking at it from almost all sides of the table. When everybody needs something to get some sort of a solution, you are having that ability to, like you say, sit on the fence, take it all in, and approach it in the appropriate way. And I think that's great. And it's really interesting. Obviously, nobody saw this digital phase coming in, and it very much did jump up onto a lot of people very quickly. And the fact that a lot of people are turning into this, is there any method of why you went into some of these directions early on, or is there any inspiration from any other sort of technology that you've taken and kind of brought together?
Yeah, great question. So I'm just writing some notes down as you asked these some of the questions. So as I said, the reason we wanted to go in a digital direction was I thought that from a personal trainer's perspective, selfishly as a trainer, you're selling time. And you know, if you're a trainer in a health club, you're selling time as well. So the trainers are getting paid for classes that they teach, a service that they give to their customers, but also for the individual private PT sessions or small group training sessions that they're doing as well. And nearly 10 years ago, we really started to push the operators and say, look, we really think that you need to have an at-home offering, because it could be a really efficient way to get the next wave of customers coming in. So you might have almost a community outreach program. There's a whole host of people that don't feel they would benefit from coming into a health club for whatever reason. They feel they're out of shape. They maybe have a physical condition where they don't feel comfortable exercising in a group environment, or they don't feel they want to enter a gym which is full of mirrors. So we came up very early with a concept of an at-home outreach program and pitched it to a few operators, and they were really keen to look at how that could materialize. So we decided many years ago, as I said, about a decade ago, that we wanted to move in this direction, and then we saw that this was an important way for health clubs to expand their offering beyond the four walls, and giving people the opportunity to engage with a branded experience from what's key here is a trusted source of information. So health and fitness instructors are professionals. That's what they do. When they work in a health club environment, they're trained, they're on brand, they're delivering a particular service to the end customer who happens to be arriving at their facility. There's no reason why those trainers can't be utilized more efficiently. The average trainer, I think, was delivering somewhere in the region of about 65 training sessions a month in sort of an average health club across the UK. There's no reason why that they have spare capacity. They couldn't be training people digitally, delivering online training programs, or creating a program and then distributing it to them, whether or not it's delivered face-to-face or through Zoom or through different meeting URL softwares, or if it's just, I'm creating a program for this section of population and then broadcasting it through to an end application that the users can engage with. And we saw that as a really key way forwards for the fitness industry. And obviously now COVID has made that sort of all come to light, that now everybody needs those kind of solutions. So we're really well positioned to be able to help advise people because we've got a lot of experience in this field.
So, I mean, based on your experience in this field then, now that we have got not only the need for digital, but we've now have these digital solutions, what are some of the functions that you are potentially, I mean, if you can share some that you're currently developing, that would be really interesting. But if they are trade secrets, that's absolutely fine. But if you are looking at, well, what's hot at the moment? What are the suppliers, the operators, or the end consumer really asking for the function of their kind of apps or their digital solutions to really, drive forward? What is it that the biggest problem that you're addressing at the moment, really?
So one of the challenges that we solved a little while ago was this whole concept of spot booking. So now with social distancing, it's even more relevant. So right, you want people to be able to block their space in a particular gym for a particular class so that you can adhere to social distancing rules, or whether it's you're booking a bike in a particular spot within a studio. And we looked at, outside of the fitness industry, at how we'd solve this challenge. We looked at what people like airlines were doing and how they created their solutions. We also went to Imperial College in London, which is a fantastic design engineering university, and maths and physics and science, etc. as well. And we started to work with some of their interns there that work with us at Fisikal, to come and bring a different angle on design. So what are people doing in other industries that we can learn from? If we put our fitness hat on, we're always going to do things in the same way that everybody else is within the fitness industry. But if we look outside of the fitness industry, we can learn from how the airline authorities have been able to, and brands have been able to create really slick, efficient ways to be able to say, well, here's a map of an airplane. Here's the seat options that are available, and be able to book onto one and see if there's a cost, or move on to another one which doesn't have a cost. So we worked with Imperial, and we came up with a really great, efficient design. And obviously there's a minimum viable product that you can release, and then there's the all singing, all dancing version. So we looked at, well, actually this solution was going to take this amount of time and was going to cost this amount of money, but what's the base level requirement? And we went quite a far way up on that list in order to be able to go for a really highly configurable option. So we created our own dynamic room mapping solution in Fisikal, in the platform, so that each operator would be able to say, well, in this club, it has 4 studios, but the studio in this one's laid out in rows, whereas the other one is in arcs and ratios of a particular curve, so that you can actually marry it up. So from the members' perspective, they're able to scroll on, see the class availability, tap on, bikes 1 and 7 are free. Well, that's near the door, or that's near the instructor, so I know there's a fan there, or the speaker's really loud. So I'm able to sort of look and see what's going on in that room structure, and then very simply tap and book. And then from the instructor's perspective, the instructors, and I'm sure that any Group X instructor that is listening onto this and happens to have taught a spinning class in the past, has come to an uncomfortable confrontation between 2 members. This is my bike. I always have this bike. No, it's not. It's mine. I booked it. So you're able to now have a democratic system where the instructor can look on their app and go, actually, no, Matt, you're on this bike today. So this is your bike. You've made this reservation. And then deal with and get rid of that awkward confrontation and deal with it professionally as well. So we were able to deliver that, and that's obviously live, and a lot of our operators have been using that now for some time, and it's particularly during COVID, it's worked very, very well.
Well, it's such a busy period as well, because there's so many people. I mean, for fitness and health to be improved, there's got to be a lot of habitual methodology behind that. So, it's very often, I mean, we know as operators and we know as consumers that people like the same lockers, they do like the same bike, they like to go to certain instructor teaching. So if all of that information can be updated instantly upon booking, then you are almost personalizing the service, which makes everybody have that ease of comfort because their expectations are managed. And I always believe that any operator who manages expectations will always be able to find a way to be more successful at delivering those expectations as well. Because if you don't understand the habitual way that the end user wants to feel, and even the team feel around it. So, and even like you say, so for example, if I'm teaching a spin class or an indoor cycling class, and I'm going to know the first 5 people in the class, I know that those people, and if one of them is missing, if there's a way that I could message that person and say, hey, I notice that you're not booked in, suddenly I'm over delivering the expectations of the consumer, but it's because you start to have data to the habitual work that you're doing.
That's very true, and that was a key requirement for one of our operators that we work with. That they have thousands. Well, at the time they had thousands of new members joining over every month for their chain. But they wanted to capture some key information about why those members were joining at the time. And sure, members always come into the reception and they fill in the piece of paper, and that piece of paper is really invaluable. It's then handed to the team that then process that membership, and then the paperwork's filed wherever it is, in the circular filing cabinet under everybody's desk, and then shredded, or wherever it goes. And that's an unfortunate loss of key data on how that member wants to engage with the brand. So we created a solution very easily leveraging our assessment functionality, and we decided that we would make some certain types of assessments visible to customers. And we could bind that through to an experience the first time they log into the application, confirm the EULA, you change a password, and then 3 questions on profiling, and whatever they might be. For example, why have you joined the club? How many times do you want to exercise? And what are your key things to get out of this experience? And we learned very quickly that multiple choice was the only way that we could really go in this direction, and allowing people to type in data. You're never going to be able to get some good quality data that you can analyze efficiently when people are typing in information, unless you're very lucky. So giving people those very quick 3 questions, maybe select one of the following or multiple options you could select from, it then became really key information for operators to be able to identify within these 3 questions, here are the reasons why our members are joining. So this month we've got more of these members joining. Now, why is that? And then they can ask particular questions. Was it because we were doing a social media campaign? Or is it because it's coming back from the summer holidays? So they can actually look at, track the data and how that data is referenced within what's going on with them in a marketing context, but also what time of the year it is. So if it is, you're finding people are looking for weight loss after Christmas holidays, or they want to get fit for a particular event for the summer, you're able to sort of track that trend. And what we ended up being able to do for the operators, not only be able to deliver that key information to them so that they could create specific programming for classes on demand, and etc., making sure those services were available, we're able to adapt our member application so that it can have a more personalized feel to it. So based on where I was in my customer journey, so let's say I'm a new joiner and I've got my induction 1 and induction 2 that I've got to look at. So the buttons on the bottom of the menu would change based on where I was in my stage of membership and my journey. So it allows me to make a booking for my induction, and but then maybe gave me an option once I've completed those to upgrade to book PT or buy PT. But if I was already a PT member effectively that was engaging with it, I wouldn't want to see the buy PT button because I was already engaging with that, but I'd need to see the book PT button. So creating that sort of really highly personalized flow to sort of, you can guide people in a particular direction and then spot the data and look at how they're interacting with it, so that you can then go, well, actually, we're finding that people that do use this service, now we want to create more digital training programs and push those to those users as well.
Well, I think that's fantastic. So it's not just about a solution of booking and going through the process of having an online presence. It's actually the delivery has already exceeded that. We're now on personalization, tracking trends, and making sure that we've got the solutions at the right time and the opportunities to further almost bring that customer into, instead of just being a once or twice a week, I know what I'm doing in the gym. That's great, but if you would like more personal training or a seasonal workout or a particular class that you've enjoyed previously, it's almost the recommendations built upon the profile rather than just, we have a digital offering, there you go, there's the app, download it. You're already seeing the operators go into that personalization to a much, very integral detail there as well.
Absolutely, and also with we created some integrations with CRM systems, external CRM systems outside of the Fisikal platform. So Fisikal effectively becomes the trigger source of information. So if, for example, Matt, it was your first gym access booking that you've come back to following COVID, and it was the very first time you were coming in for that particular booking type, Fisikal would identify that. Their custom CRM platform would be able to send you a very custom CRM notification, say, hey Matt, here's what you need to know for your first visit for gym access. The second time you book, it already knows that you've already had that same booking and attended it once before, so don't resend that specific highly custom approach. And the same for online Zoom sessions or training sessions. So there's a specific procedure that members need to know. Make sure you show up early to the session, make sure your mic is disabled, but your video is enabled. All of those kind of key guidelines that we need to make sure that streamlines the booking and engagement process from your perspective, but also doesn't disrupt all the other members that are coming on as well. So imagine if you have all the members that are trying to get their video working, but their mic's working on a Zoom session. It's painful for the instructor, and if they've got to then manually let people in through a waiting room as well. So making sure that everybody, the instructors and the members, all know what they need to do within a specific process is key to streamlining the experience for the instructor and also from the member's perspective as well.
Well, I just think it's so much already. It's so much more detail than what the need for being online or digital is. So it's fantastic you've made those developments. Rob, let's move the conversation on to the work that Fisikal and Matrix have done together in developing the MX4 program, which just for anybody who's listening in who has maybe heard about it but would like a little bit more information, the small group training program of MX4 is a way that we deliver ongoing workouts within a health club environment, and we aim to have between 4 to 12 people in a small group training session, and we focus on 4 pillars of fitness, and the exercises are set up and pre-designed. So you are effectively coming into over 150 different workouts which are already pre-designed with a progressive programming set up into place, and that was something that obviously yourself was a major part of that project. But maybe you can tell us a little bit more about that project that we worked on, and where did the concept come from, and what was the conversations that started that, really?
Sure. Matrix came to Fisikal. Obviously, we've done a number of different education applications for other brands in the industry, and from our perspective, we're not a content creator in any way. So Fisikal is an infrastructure where brands like Matrix can upload and disseminate their content to either professionals in a club or to the end consumer directly. And obviously we have the MX4 education app for the content through to the trainers within the operator's environment, but you also have the Connexus Home consumer application as well. So we've always had that ability to be able to deliver content. And when Matrix came to us, they said, look, we wanted to be able to create a solution so that we can drip feed content through to users. So the first key thing here is that we very strongly believe that content should come from the source of the education. So the people that manufacture the equipment are by far generally the best people to be able to teach people how to use their equipment safely and efficiently. They design the equipment in a particular way. They understand the education behind it because they've created it, and they want to be able to deliver it. So if people are instead of going onto Google and looking at how you can do something, that is a way of doing it, but there's so much risk there and so many good examples of poor, dangerous content that users could injure themselves with. We've always wanted to work with main operators and also education organizations like Matrix, etc., to be able to deliver their content through, because we know that it will be safely configured for the end consumer. So that's the first thing, is from the trusted source effectively. Matrix wanted to be able to say, well, here is a 12-week or 16-week or year-long drip piece of a series of content, but we want to deliver specific content to users on a particular way. And we've created applications in the past whereby you've had a massive library of content that's accessible from day one. And we find that users have great engagement with that for a little while, and then there's no real reason for them to go back unless they can't remember what they've already learned before or want to look for something new. And people become lazy when it comes to content. You've got to probably you can look for a great library somewhere, and you might look at it a little while, but then you don't go back to it as often as you probably should do. So we came up with an approach to be able to engage users constantly into going back into the application. That now became a reason for them to go back to see the content. So if content for particular weeks 1 to 3 were added, for example, they would be able to access all that information on day one for that. They'd be able to see the week plan, what they needed to do, all the PDF on the descriptions, the coaching notes, etc. But then an exercise library of all of the individual video exercises for each of the exercises, including in the PDF program, and all the safety notes that they needed and coaching notes that they, as instructors, would need to deliver to their customers to make sure that they were engaging with that particular exercise efficiently and safely, which is key. So that's a really great way. And the application also enabled them to be able to filter by content that they hadn't yet looked at. So instead of seeing this massive list of videos that you could look through, you could just tap, well, what haven't yet I gone through in that list of exercise programs, and then filter that and then view those. And then eventually I'd be at zero. I wouldn't have anything that I hadn't looked at, and I could go back and check for that. And what's nice in this solution is that we created the solution so that the content would be drip fed to users. And as they went through the program, they could be sent a notification, say, hey, weeks 4 to 7 have now been assigned to your profile. Again, some people like that feature and other people don't use that feature as well, but that's there, certainly there as an option. And it just allows people to go in and track that general progress in terms of here is the program on day 1 or week 1, but now I'm on week 12, and here's what weeks 12, 13, and 14 look like, and I can separate those out. So I don't feel overwhelmed with, oh my gosh, this is an enormous program that I've got to now learn everything in one go. I can just learn things in bite sizes based on where I am in the program, and then I can prepare for next week and then have everything there as well. And the Matrix wanted to make this a multilingual solution, so we were very easily able for them to be able to simply and efficiently translate this into, I think we've got 6 or so languages on there as well now, which is fantastic. So if I'm in China, I can filter it into Chinese and look at all the descriptions, etc., in there as well. So no, it was really fun to work with Matrix on that. And I have to say the filming quality that was filmed for it was fantastic. So I think there was a really very good investment was made by Matrix to create such a well-structured training program and create all the collateral they needed, not just the video, but all the coaching notes that were really precise so that the instructors could get the most out of the program.
Well, I'm glad you commented on that particular point, because all the coaching notes, that was me. it took me days to write all those down, so that was fantastic.
Fantastic. Well done.
So, Rob, when I deliver the MX4 coaching program, what I love about it there's lots of different sides to this, because there is actually a partnership with MyZone where we can actually have the heart rate of the participants up on a leaderboard, and we can actually show the exercises as demonstrations. So even if somebody is circling on to the next exercise, they can see a visual as to what they're going to be doing. So I really like it as a great resource for the member of the facility. Like you say, the drip feeding of the information to the personal trainer, it does mean that they're not getting overpowered, but also too much information can be dangerous for a new member of staff, because they suddenly see, 156 different workouts with, 500 plus exercises, and they suddenly look at that and go, well, I don't know that exercise too much, so I'm going to change to this one. Well, in actual fact, we don't want you to change the program, because there's a reason why that exercise is in there, because in 3 or 4 weeks time, you're going to not only need that skill of that exercise, because we're going to develop the program so that you use that same motion into maybe with greater load. So it's very much a progressive programming source as well. And from a supplier's point of view, if you know that your client is coming 3 times a week and they're going to be doing the HIIT training, and we could then maybe incorporate different, classes as well, then we know that their regular habitual work that we mentioned earlier in the podcast as well, that all of their success is going to be built up. And if we can start to track that they're using it, and we can see that their booking systems and usage is up, and like you say, you can star the fact that that's the workout completed, it really almost, the solution of this MX4 does talk to the client, the trainer, and the operator all at the same time. So it really is a very supportive app in that way. And is that something that was a very early thought within the journey of this sort of design process as well?
Yes, I think from Matrix's perception, they wanted to get my words out today. They wanted to make sure that it encompassed the whole journey, from the programming through to the operator, through to the instructors engaging with that, all the way through with the MyZone heart rate experience up on screen to engage people, etc. as well. So not only can they deliver the program efficiently, but they can also track how hard each of the members that were wearing MyZone were working in that particular thing as well, the session as well. So it makes from an operator's perspective, you can get some really great data, not only once you tag in your booking system to be able to see who's booked for that, how often people are booking in for that, when do they book for that, what are the key patterns there, but also now cross-referencing that with, well, actually, who books, when do they book, how often do they book, but how hard do they work when they work. So you can tag that into the whole experience and then look at, well, if you then added assessments in there as well and track progress as well, you're able to see, well, we know that people that book this many times, engage with these many workouts, work this hard, and here are their results. So you've got the 4 things that you really need to ascertain the success of this program, and be able to then say, well, actually, for our investment that we're making in this programming and the equipment that we're buying as well, we know that it's money well spent, because we know that members that engage with this product get far more gains by using this product and the service that we're offering here than those that don't. So it's a really great way to look at that investment spend, track the data, and be able to tie it back to going, yes, we've made the right financial investment into this solution, because we can see that our members are getting the results because they're engaging with this safe, efficient programming.
Yeah, and it really brings the equipment to life as well. There's so many times that a gym will make a purchase of equipment based on demands, but then the equipment can often be sat there not being used. So, programming and applications which are going to support the usage and education of not only the trainer but of the actual end user as well is fantastic. And what was really nice is we've actually developed the MX4 Active program as well. So this is looking at either seniors in the market or deconditioned people, and it's not just about the strength, power, muscle endurance, and cardiovascular fitness. We're now looking at things like mobility, and we're bringing in fitness testing as part of this app, so to really support people. So it's really interesting how the app and how it was initially designed has already been evolved, and we've actually added in more equipment. So it'll be interesting to see if there is further equipment which comes out from Matrix which gets added to this programming, and see if it gets relaunched with a bigger library and more support and more functions as well. So I guess this is the beauty of apps. They can always be developed and added to. It's not just right, we came up with this and 5 years later it's redundant because it either did work, didn't work, it's now old, it's tired, it doesn't deliver this popular function anymore. It can always be added to as well.
Absolutely, and from our perspective, the app infrastructure is constantly being innovated. So we're updating our infrastructure every 2 weeks on average across the year. A massive amount of innovation, not just for in this particular product line, but in all of the back end of Fisikal. So it makes it an easier way for us to continue to upgrade our infrastructure and offer new solutions to brands and operators accordingly as well. And as you rightly said, Matt, from a new products that could be developed in the future, that's just a tile that just appears on the app. So you've got MX4, MX4 Active, and or the next thing that then appears, and you've got at some point in the future, you might retire a product and then swap it out for another one. It's that whole infrastructure is there, and we track all the interaction with how instructors are interacting with it as well. So there's that granular level from a Matrix's perspective, that they're able to see the big data behind it. So are we delivering the right training programs? Are trainers engaging with it? What are they looking at within that? Are they skipping out key videos? If so, how do we engage them to look at those videos more efficiently? Is there something that we need to change within the video? Or does everybody know how to do a press up, for example? Or do we need to be showing them a specific way that they could use it on the TRX attachment on the MX4 as well? Is there a particular approach that we need to educate people in that particular direction?
Yeah, well, Rob, this has been fantastic. It's really interesting to almost share the journey, because digital solutions it's obviously so popular at the moment, but it has evolved so much. So to kind of look at the different perspectives of it, from the customer to the the trainer to the operator, but also now from a supplier's perspective as well, it's great. And obviously a lot of our partners at Matrix who we've supplied equipment to will now have a greater understanding as to maybe looking at what they could do within the fitness industry, and different directions that they could have a look at different projects which could come up as well. So massive thank you for your time as well. Are there any comments that you'd like to make about any predictions maybe about where you think the fitness direction might go? I mean, obviously we're still in this COVID-19 period where, although not currently in any lockdowns, there is a perception that there might be further. Is there anything that you would encourage people to do to almost make an entry level into this kind of world of digital fitness at the moment?
Absolutely, and I think you're right. I think that the potential of a second lockdown or more lockdowns in the future will be there until they can find a treatment program for COVID and or anything else that comes and hits us in the future. So we are certainly not immune to anything that we don't yet know about. So that's always a possibility. At some point, there could be another one of these, and it could be in a different way. So I think we have to prepare that the fitness industry now must have a digital component to it, so that operators and brands can continue to deliver education and service to an audience. There's a lot of free content out there. Instagram and Facebook have been bombarded. The challenge that they have that when any consumer that goes onto those, particularly with Instagram, is every few seconds somebody else is going live. So you can very quickly be distracted onto, oh, somebody else has gone live, I'm going to check on what they're doing, as opposed to staying within a particular branded environment for the brand that they were actually engaging with at the time they were looking at that video or the workout. So I think that's a key thing, looking at what is your strategy for digital. It doesn't have to be extensive, it can be a step in the right direction. And then looking at the viability of that direction that you're going in. Well, yes, I want to be able to deliver online workouts. Great. Well, is that an on-demand series of workouts? If so, what branding, what video assets have I got? Have I got the film crew, the structure, the infrastructure I can do to make videos that are engaging enough for our customers and fit the brand model, etc.? What's the structure of each of those workouts? Is it similar to those in club, or am I looking at now filming and streaming from the club, where some people are doing a live session? Do you want to film that same session, rather like Peloton, where that's streamed out to people at home as well? So thinking about that particular structure, but also looking at what your small group training infrastructure is, or your personal training infrastructure, in terms of, trainers not losing your trainers to your customers directly for another lockdown, or having the flexibility. All the trainers have capacity in the clubs now. Let's create a home solution that your trainers can be delivering a PT session here in club, and then the next session they're doing is delivering someone who doesn't want to come into the club today, that's at home, and they've got their towel and their mat, and they've got a set of dumbbells at home, or a kettlebell, or whatever it is, or a large bottle of water that they can use in their workout, whatever it might be. I mean, trainers are now being more adaptive to that. So creating that infrastructure so that staff can be productive is a great way forward. But looking at what the end consumer experience is, making sure it's not communications through WhatsApp or via message or text, etc. What does the full end-to-end branded experience look like from an operator's perspective? I want to see who's available today for an online PT session at 3 o'clock. Show me the trainers that can deliver that session, that are online, that are available to be delivered that session. I'm going to book it. I'm going to pay for it. Great experience. So thinking about that infrastructure, how prepared are you for that? There's obviously the on-demand content, but then there's the live experience, whether that's a live training session, a Zoom session, or if you're going to use something like a Vimeo or a YouTube live streaming, where you're just distributing that content through. And also what that looks like with heart rate monitor interactions with companies like MyZone, who have got some great solutions there, where you can interact and see how hard you and everybody else in your class is now interacting with as well. So there's lots of great things in the industry, and I think now is the time to collaborate. So the industry really needs to come together. So manufacturers and suppliers and operators need to really brainstorm the direction that they need to go into, and come up with what we think the future of the fitness industry may well look like. Let's start planning that now.
Yeah, well, I think on reflection, it all, from my point of view, from the words of wisdom that you're sharing with us, it all comes down to the experience that the company who is going to supply that experience, what experience would they like to give across? How do they want to come across to their customer? And it almost starts with that. And then you think about the features that you've got to put together in order to get that end result, really. So Rob, it's been a fantastic journey with you through this sort of digital world. I really appreciate your time. I think if there are any questions which anyone has, they can also get in contact with us at Matrix Fitness, and we're more than happy as a partner of Matrix to pass those on to you. And I'm sure you and I can work on those together to answer any which come up as well.
Fantastic. Thanks so much for having me today. It was a real pleasure.
Lovely. Thanks so much, Rob. And we look forward to more podcasts where you can join us for lots more information and conversations with our trusted partners in the future.